I saw that there was a challenge with our voting system in the state of Georgia. I never denied the election. I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won.
You refused to concede and say that you lost. Do you stand by that decision today?
Absolutely. The election was not fair. The process was not fair.
All right, guys, so when Peter Doocy called out the White House's affirmative action press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, on her election conspiracies that she was pushing when Trump won in 2016 and Stacey Abrams lost to Brian Kemp during the Georgia governor race, I said that Doocy was probably the greatest White House correspondence journalist ever. And one of the reasons why is because this guy always asks the right questions, exposing the Democrats' hypocrisies. Because this issue where you're allegedly not supposed to make certain claims about the election or push certain election conspiracies unless you're an insurrectionist or unless you are attacking democracy, there's no issue that Democrats have been bigger hypocrites on than this issue right here. Because they have pushed election conspiracies and false election claims ever since they lost the election back when Bush beat Gore. Okay, they've been pushing false election conspiracies ever since then, and these people want to lose their minds just because a side of the aisle that they don't like, people they politically disagree with, are making their own claims about the election, the same claims that Democrats made for years, right? All you have to do is to call them out on their nonsense, and then all of a sudden you will have moments like this where Sunny Holston, who also is an election conspiracy pusher, she's an election denier because she believed the Russia hoax, she had a moment where she actually recognized her hypocrisy on this issue.
I don't like whataboutism. I never have. You did this, so I'm going to do this. Or remember when you did that. But I will say that when Trump became president, I think people were so very shocked, even considering the Electoral College and that sort of thing. The assumption was, at least mine, I'll speak for myself, that Russia must have been involved because we knew from the Mueller report that Russia had some involvement. Russia thought that it could benefit from a Trump presidency, which it did, by the way. But I remember calling him an illegitimate president, and that was wrong. I should not have said that because he was not an illegitimate president.
But that was how you felt. You had every right to say it.
However, he remains a twice impeached, disgraced, one-term president. All of that is true.
Okay. To respond to
That's true.
So there was good reason to investigate Russian interference in the 2016 election, and here's why. It was good reason to investigate Russian intervention.
Yes.
The 2020 bipartisan report from the Senate Intelligence Committee, which was headed by little Marco Rubio, one of his boys, right? This is what they found. The committee found that the Russian government engaged in an aggressive, multifaceted effort to influence or attempt to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election.
Yes.
Okay,
but
so you were wrong.
But the campaign did not coordinate with the Russians. And that's where I think I was wrong. And I think
you don't know that.
Other people
But you don't know that he wasn't talking to
There was an investigation. And we have to believe that when the FBI and the Department of Justice conducts investigations, we have to believe that that is another tenet of our democracy.
Yeah, so a rare moment of clarity from the cackling hens on The View in which you have Sunny Holston realizing that, wait, we're all hypocrites because we pushed election conspiracies when Trump got in office, mainly the whole Russia hoax, while at the same time we're trying to lecture other people about the so-called attack on democracy when we have in fact been attacking democracy and questioning the legitimacy of our elections. And after having this realization, Sunny Holston, just a week or two later, had the opportunity to confront Democrat soul sister election denier number one, Stacey Abrams, on her claims about how the Georgia governor race was stolen from her by Brian Kemp. And I'm going to tell you guys, these answers from Stacey Abrams here is probably some of the most ridiculous mental gymnastics I've ever heard in my life, as she not only denies that she refused to concede the election to Brian Kemp, but she also tries to justify her claims of saying that the election was stolen, which is basically her not conceding, right, to Brian Kemp. But before I get into that, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my channel and you want to support my channel, you can check out my merch, my donkeypox shirts, the disease that is affecting America, or my hashtag no days off / hard work patriotic t-shirts, or my MAGA Hub shirts. There are plenty of new merch for you guys to check out at my website, gforemanbcp.com. Get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, go ahead and roll the clip.
Run against incumbent Brian Kemp for governor, and polls show a tight race, especially the poll this morning. Now, when you lost in 2018, you didn't traditionally concede, which I appreciated, because you cited voter suppression. Are you confident that this will be a free and fair election and not a repeat performance of what happened before?
So I appreciate the question and the framing. I have never denied that I lost. I don't live in the governor's mansion. I would have noticed. And there's this clip that's going around, and it shows me saying that we won. And what I was referring to was that we won in terms of communities that were long left out of the electoral process, finally participated in 18 at outstanding numbers. But I'm not delusional, so just so that's clear. But what we know was that the issues that we raised in 18, the fact that 214 precincts were shut down, that 53,000 people had their voter registrations held hostage, that 1.4 million people were purged, including 500,000 people who simply had chosen not to vote, that we were able to tackle that because we raised the issues, because I refuse to say that that was a good thing. We saw, as a response, the state legislature the following year, in response to lawsuits that I filed and others, started to fix those problems. The challenge is the fixes worked. And in 2020 and 2021, we saw outstanding turnout from communities that had long been the victims of voter suppression. And so Brian Kemp changed the laws again. He and Brad Raffensperger have now put in place a new set of challenges, that it is harder to get your absentee ballot. If you are a senior citizen or someone who's disabled, for almost a decade, you were able to automatically get an absentee ballot. You now have to reapply. And many of those communities don't know that. And they are finding out right now that what used to come to their houses automatically won't show up unless they navigate a much more complicated system. We know that they have limited access to early voting by shutting down the access to drop boxes. And for folks who say, well, we haven't always had drop boxes, well, we also haven't always had on-call scheduling. And those drop boxes allowed more than 1.9.
Yeah, so one thing's for certain when it comes to Stacey Abrams. The closest way she'll ever get to exercising is the mental gymnastics that she routinely performs in her head to try to justify her false election claims that she made when she lost to Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia. Okay, because let's just go ahead and dispel this lie that Stacey Abrams is pushing, in which she claims that she never denied the results of the election.
Was the election in Georgia statewide a free and fair election?
It was not a free and fair election. But will I say that this election was not tainted, was not a disinvestment and a disenfranchisement of thousands of voters? I will not say that.
You notably did not concede.
I did not.
Okay, you acknowledged that he won, but you did not concede.
Correct.
5 months later, do you still feel like your opponent won through voter suppression?
Yes. Georgia voters did not have their votes counted. They were not allowed to cast votes. They had their votes discarded. And it was not fair to those who filled out absentee ballots. And depending on the county you sent it to, it either was counted or not counted, assuming you received it in time. Brian Kemp oversaw for 8 years the systematic and systemic dismantling of our democracy, and that means there could not be free and fair elections in Georgia.
So you don't feel that you lost fair and square?
Boy, the tape never lies with these Democrats, bruh. The tape never, ever lies, okay? The only people that lie are the Democrats themselves, okay? Who, you know, for her, what she's saying, she said two things at the same time. She's trying to deny that she ever denied the results of election, which is not true. She definitely denied the results of the election. She should be suspended from social media, right? She's an OG insurrectionist, a threat to democracy, right? Stacey Abrams for denying the election, for pushing false election claims. Because remember, all elections in the United States are 100% free and fair, right? Whether it be the presidential elections or governor elections or Senate, all elections are 100% free and fair according to big tech in the Democrat Party, and you can't make any other claims or else you are a threat to democracy. I just want to make that clear here. All elections are 100% free and fair. So with that being said, Stacey Abrams here, okay, is not only trying to play her base like they're dumb, trying to deny something that she actually said, she's also at the same time trying to say, well, if I did make those claims, or the reason why I made those claims is because of voter suppression. And because I am talking about voter suppression, therefore my conspiracies now have become valid, right? Which Sunny Holston apparently buys into because she says, well, I appreciate the fact that you didn't concede because you cited voter suppression. So are you telling me that you can make whatever claims you want about the election now as long as you say that, hey, the election was stolen because of voter suppression? That makes it okay if you throw in voter suppression there. So I'm assuming that if somebody in the Republican Party or, Trump made that claim and said, well, I'm saying it because of voter suppression, the vote was suppressed of black and brown people, it's okay. It's okay now, right? It's okay. That's what you're telling us, right? That's what you're saying. But see, again, the issue here is that the Democrats believe their conspiracy is true, but it's not true. It's a conspiracy because there's no facts or evidence to back up her claims whatsoever. And the reason why we know that her claims is false is, one, she has no real evidence to back up her claims. She can't provide any numbers or data that says how many people's votes are being suppressed because of GOP election integrity laws. First and foremost, she has no real evidence, okay? Second of all, there's evidence to the contrary in the sense that there's been record voter turnout in 2020 in Georgia, 2021, and 2022, okay? Now, Stacey Abrams, she's actually heard that a lot, that rebuttal that, hey, how in the world is that voter suppression when you have record voter turnout? And in the past, she didn't really have an answer for it. She just said, well, just because more people voted doesn't mean people's votes aren't being suppressed. So she went to her PR firm, right, to come up with some BS explanation for how this voter suppression is supposed to work. And did you hear what she said on The View? Right, this is what she came up with. She says, well, the vote was suppressed. That's why I lost to Brian Kemp. I think it was in 2018, right? And in 2020, the reason why we had record voter outcome is because all of a sudden the vote was not suppressed anymore. And the reason why it wasn't suppressed is because of all the work that we did, right? All the work that Stacey Abrams did to get black and brown people to vote, that overcame the voter suppression laws from Georgia, right? From the Republicans, okay? Then all of a sudden, right, after 2020 and in 2021, according to Stacey Abrams here, the laws are put back in place. So now, when it comes to the Georgia governor race, the vote is suppressed again. Even though Stacey Abrams forgot to mention that there was record voter turnout in the Georgia primary, the Democrat and the Republican primary. There was record voter turnout. Even though she was the only Democrat that's running in the Georgia governor race in the Democratic primaries, there was record voter turnout. After, this is with the so-called voter suppression laws in Georgia in place. So again, she's just factually incorrect, right? She's pushing a conspiracy theory. She's pushing false election claims. She should be banned from social media. But in her mind, she has to keep up the grift, right? Doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense anymore. Doesn't matter if it's been disproven time and time again. Doesn't matter if they don't have any evidence to back up this claim. No, she has to keep going with the grift. It's okay when I make claims. It's not okay when these people make claims. These people are insurrections when they make claims. I'm just fighting for social justice and against racism when I make these claims, right? Absolutely incredible stuff. And it's a shame that Sunny Holston here, who I thought realized the error of her ways, the hypocrisy of the Democrats when it comes to these false election claims, is absolutely a shame that Sunny Holston, knowing that Stacey Abrams was full of it, allowed her to go on the show and to continue to push this nonsense with no pushback, even though she knows it's BS. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.